Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbooking and Craft. Today I'm coming on with a Christmas layout. Yes, I know it's September and I'm doing a Christmas layout. Christmas will be here before we know it. Um, so basically this is a scrapbook layout, and I decided to use one of my new stencils, my new Christmas wreath stencil that you can see there in the picture, and use some texture paste with it. Here I'm just mixing up some texture paste and some off-white. I didn't want it stark white, I sort of wanted off-white. So some off-white paint, vanilla I think, just acrylic paint. So just mixing that about 1:1 ratio. Using a store card or a credit card or a gift card to apply it through the stencil, I find that's the best way. This is a stencil, it's sort of like a reverse stencil. Your leaves stay the colour of the background and you're really putting in the background colour. So I had this idea, if I stenciled it on green pattern paper, I would be able to stencil in the background, which is what the creamy colour is, and then the green leaves will stay green. I had this great idea to put little red gems on the red berries too, but I didn't end up doing that because I could not locate where they were, and this was a layout going to be displayed at a show at the end of August, so I did do this one a little while ago, but I will eventually put some red bits on it. So I just decided to that, didn't know what colour I wanted, so this is actually the back of a really old, and these are quite old scrapbooking papers, so I do apologise for that, but I am digging into my stash and trying to use up what I've got, and these sort of colours went with the photo. So this is an old Bella from Finmark paper, and I'm just using the back of it because it was just an old scratchy look to stencil some wreaths on. I did end up stenciling way too many. I don't end up using this many. I do use it on a Project Life or a pocket style scrapbooking layout, which will come up shortly as well. And I decided to, because I'd mixed up the amount of texture paste, I decided to go ahead and just use them. So just giving them a dry with the heat gun. Now they do take a lot longer than just that quickness to dry them. So I do go and work on some other stuff while they are drying. But I did take a lot of that out of the video. Just when you're using texture paste with our stencils, you do need to wash your stencil pretty well straight away. So I just took a break then and washed the stencil because your texture paste does dry like cement. So just cutting up some of these papers to do a bit of layering behind the photo. So these papers all come from, or all these coloured ones come from a paper pad from, I got it about 4 years ago from Lincraft actually, trying to think of the brand name. Couture Creations, it's an Australian company up in Queensland. They manufacture some stuff, so wow. Here we go, I've got everything magically cut out. So basically all I did was took some scissors and went around the wreath, and then I just took a scalpel knife and went inside the wreath, so we just had the ring. Then I had this idea to cut them up and layer them off to that left hand side of the picture. I did cut a lot of the fussy cutting out because it did take me quite a while to do, or not that long. So just layering around, and also I fussy cut out some of these oval critters. This is a picture of my daughter at the Carols by Candlelight last year wearing an elf's hat, wearing Santa's little elf. So I decided to use these little cutesy Christmas pictures. Trying to use that banner. That banner's from a Heidi Swap, again an older range, but I don't. The banner does make it on there, but I'm an R a bit. So trying to bring in some more of the stenciled pieces. I always tend to want, if I'm making an embellishment, like a homemade embellishment with our stencils or that, I tend to like to make a few more than I would use, and then I've got spare ones for later. Plus I can and ah of where I want to put them. So just deciding and fizzing things around, moving things around. I'm a great procrastinator when it comes to scrapbooking. Go on, hands up who's a great procrastinator, I can't even say the word, with scrapbooking. I tend to, and the layout will slightly change in a minute, I tend to place everything down, not glue everything down, move it around 100 times. So I am trying to do the new stick and plonk method and not procrastinate so much. So my first thought will be what the end result looks like, so I'm not moving things around 100 times and wasting hours on end trying to get just the right placement. So still fiddling with bits and bits, just hand cutting a few more of those circles. I do like those circles on that pattern paper. So just wanting to scatter them in and around. And then I decided we needed to add some ink. So I decided to grab my Distress ink, picked raspberry, I believe this one. It is the brightest of the pinks. And just decided to use it to just edge all the pieces, just to give them a bit more definition. I know this is probably the incorrect way of edging them. Usually I would get my blending tool out, but I was being lazy this night and just tapping them on the side of the ink pad. So Christmas will be a few months away yet, but it's great to even get out last year's Christmas photos, as this is a last year's Christmas photo, and get them in the album before this year comes. So just also inking around the larger sheets of paper that will sit behind my photo as well, my layers. You have to excuse if there's a bit of background noise. I just heard a noisy motorbike go by. It's a Saturday afternoon while I'm doing this voiceover, and hopefully it's quiet enough where I am to not have a lot of noise. So that green half circle, I believe, is an offcut from the inside of the wreath that we have made. So I decided I needed something in the background. So this is actually some clear homemade gesso. I decided to go a bit mixed mediary on this layout. It's a clear homemade gesso with Elmer's glue or PVA glue, water, and a powder that just escapes me. It's a white powder. If you do want me to locate the recipe, I can do that for you. And basically the white gesso seals your paper. It's like using white gesso, but it's clear, so you don't necessarily see it. So just scraping that across with the gift card that I used for the stenciling. So then I decided to try some of this packaging technique that I've seen everyone do on the internet, and I think I smushed it too much. The first time I've done it, it just looks like a big pink blob. And if I hadn't done the gesso underneath the distress ink, trying to get some drips there and having interesting effects, the ink would have soaked more into the paper and wouldn't have sat on the top for me to be able to move it around. And you can't really see where the clear gesso went. So that's a great thing to have in your scrapbooking mixed media toolkit. So just drying that off. I do like the packaging technique. The reason I just did it on the left hand side because I knew that right hand side would be mostly taken up with my picture and my layering pieces. So now bringing all the pieces back in. Sometimes I actually use my mobile phone to take a picture of the layout before I destroy it, if I want to do it exactly the same and I like the reference. This one I didn't take a photo of, so some of the pieces may be in a different spot. And I do apologise, I've moved the layout down out of frame a little. And you can see my entire mess up the top of the frame. I'm sorry. So now I'm taking the pieces off again. I'm not sure why. Oh, because I'm layering up different pieces. As you can tell, I procrastinated on this layout for quite a while. I find sometimes I have a great idea when I start scrapbooking and I know exactly what I want to do, and then other layouts I'll sit there and procrastinate way too long. So moving the pieces around and just deciding now I'm going to stick them on. So just using some, that bottle of glue is old as well. We've got an old theme happening today. It's Express It Gel Glue. It's about 8 years old and I'm just getting to the tail end of it, so it does last a long time. And it's just a clear gel. It's not like a liquid glue, and I like it because it's great for sticking chipboard and all sorts of embellishments, and I use it for the paper. So I decided that the light green stenciled wreath half circles or quarter circles will be stuck down straight to the page, and the darker green ones I wanted to give a bit more dimension to those, so I decided to put them up on put them up on foam tape. Lost my train of thought. And then I realised that before I stick down all those bunches on the left hand side, I should get that right hand side photo and collection stuck down beforehand, which would have been a good idea. So just using double-sided tape. So as you can see, I do use quite a lot of different mediums or glues and adhesives for the one page, just depending on what works best on what product. And I probably do put too much double-sided tape down, but again, this is a little old, this double-sided tape, so I do like to add a little bit extra. Again, I believe this is expressive double-sided tape. So just offsetting the photo, I was going to mat it completely in that sort of green aqua colour, but then I decided to offset it and allow a bit more of it to show. So just fiddling around with putting all the little bits where they're supposed to go, and I realised that piece had to go under the photo, so before I stuck my photo down I had to fix that bit up. It's a gorgeous photo I captured of my daughter at our local church's Carols by Candlelight last year, just up from our house. It was fun just to walk up and not find a car park. So just adding more foam tape to those circles, and I've got some still photos at the end, and I'm hoping you can see more of the dimension in the layout when I put that up. So just adding in my three little critters. We've got the elf, the Santa, and it looks like a reindeer. So just trying to add in all those little bits of embellishments that I had planned for that side. And tucking things in between the photos. I love how the texture paste looks with the stencil. It sort of gives the stenciled work a 3D look, obviously because the texture paste is the background and the leaves are falling sort of flat. It just gave it a really nice look and a really quirky look, so something different. So just adding on all my little tucked circles and things along that right hand side. I tend to leave my photo till last when I am adhering it down, and I will often adhere things to the back of the photo if they are getting layered behind it before I actually stick the photo down. Oh, sorry about that bit of blackness, I don't know what happened there. So just continuing sticking down. When I film a process video like this, I probably filmed about 8 small sections, allowing for, my camera doesn't actually have a pause button, which would be so handy. It just has an on-off button. So often the screen will flick if I've had to go and attend to something else or go and do something. Or most of the time go and dump the camera, the footage off the camera and start again, because my camera will only film about 45 minutes, and some of these layouts do take me in real time quite a few hours to do. So just adding some foam tape to these little pictures in some spots where they need to sit the same height as the foam tape I've put under the half stenciled wreath circles. So just working all of those bits. I did start off with foam squares, but that is actually a big chunk of foam that I just cut down to whatever size I'm working with. So also using that expressive glue just to add a bit more glue to the smaller pieces. And the reason it is sitting upside down in my tape is it's nearly empty, and if I sit it the right way up, all the glue drags down to the bottom, and then I have to wait about half an hour for the glue to be ready to use. So I do end up adding this musical banner. I did cut it down. It was a 30cm banner, so that one was from an older Heidi Swap pack that I picked up in Spotlight quite a few years ago. So that is also my words for this year. My personal words for this year is to use it up. So a lot of things you'll be seeing that are incorporated with my stencils and chipboard pieces, and I do apologise if they're no longer available if you fall in love with the paper or fall in love with a certain embellishment that I have used. I'm more wanting to showcase my products than the latest and greatest scrapbook products. I can't really justify buying more paper and embellishments when I have a load sitting in my craft room already. I'm sure you can all understand. So the idea of these videos is to actually showcase and focus on my products, and then the other pieces are just an accompaniment to it. And these layouts that I are using on this channel do go into my personal album as well. So seeing a sneak peek into my personal scrapbook album. So this little sheet of, this is epoxy stickers, and they're a Heidi Swap item as well. I believe they're the same collection as the borders. Again, I got them at Spotlight quite a few years ago. I tend to go do my Christmas shopping at Spotlight after Christmas when things were a lot cheaper. So I would have only paid a couple of dollars for the packet. So I'm wanting to size up the Merry Christmas and just pop it on. And I love this scripty font from Heidi Swap. So just sizing that up at the bottom of the layout, and we are nearly done. Those epoxy stickers are just some more holly and little stars. So here's a bit of a close-up of the layout. I found that the shapes and that didn't have a lot of definition, so I decided to grab just a fine liner black marker and doodle around some of the shapes. That is one of my all-time favourite things to do, is doodle around things or doodle on things. And I just found doodling around them just gave them a bit more definition, and they stood out a bit more from the background paper. It's not like a harsh black line or another layer of paper, it's just a small little bit of black, and as you can see between the ones I've done and the ones I haven't done, they are popping out a bit more, and the layout looks a bit more dimensional than just being flat. So just going around, not being perfect, being quite accidental with my lines. So doing it around my stenciled textured wreath pieces and also around the other embellishments. Then I decided it needed a border up the side, so just sort of a scratchy border between the pieces of paper. And trimming off the ones that are hanging over. So we're just about done. I love how this one turns out, and I have some close-ups coming up just to show you some close-ups of the layout. So that's a full page. As you can see, the scribbly drawing just around some of the shapes just make them stand out a little bit more. There's a close-up of the textured paste circle. So I adore how this layout turned out. Excuse me, my voice is about gone. So thank you for watching. Do subscribe and hit the like button and do all that stuff with YouTube so we know that you're liking our videos. Thank you for watching.